Previously on Kung Fu Maintenance. Found the solenoid valve that was melted and not working.
You can trip the GFI as well, and this has a GFI. But here's what the solenoid valve should be doing. Rotate it and then pull. Yeah, there it goes. With the new one, it looks like it's that sleeve that it goes into that melted.
Just don't make them like they used to. Enter dishwasher day 2.
So, back at the dishwasher. Got it unplugged. What I'm going to be doing is seeing if I can actually take the motor from, got no water in it in this one. This one's vacant. It's not being used for a long time, so. But it is a working motor and all. I'm going to be attempting to see, can we take the motor without uninstalling the whole dishwasher, or do we need to uninstall the whole dishwasher? So here we go. Power is disconnected. Motor's right here. We changed the solenoid the other day. We'll be changing that back today, as it didn't work out on the other one. Here's the GFI. It's got a mount here. Nice thing is the water and the cord are not in the way. This one looks like it has a different, well, like a 2/8 color. Okay. So there should be a water connection right here, and then a water connection here. It's not too bad, but not much room to be able to take it out. So we're going to see if it's possible, and if not, then we're going to adjust. We've got a problem there. Take this loose, there's not much room. The screw is aimed down. Probably the other one I'm going to need to see if I can get this in. Know about it. Got the tool on it. Don't seem too bad. This one will be easy. I haven't released the motor mount yet because I don't need to yet. In theory, it's just 2 screws. 2 screws to 3 them. I'm going to need to take this off anyway. We're going to be replacing it with a new one, so that'll help me just by getting the solenoid out of the way for this. Yeah. So here's the clip. And we can pull the seal off. Get that out of the way. For my purpose here, it's just going to make this a lot easier. And I need to do it for the new one anyway. So I'll go ahead and leave this here and we'll change it with the new one. Okay. And here's the screw that we need to get loose right here. I'm going to wind up using my pliers and just turn that loose. The motor shaft is connected inside to the food grinder, so that's why we need to change the whole motor and stuff. It's fine, it's like a sealed unit. They're often sold in one piece. There we go, let it loose. Not too bad. Hold it up. Not too much water. Good. Wow. I found the clamp loose on its own already behind it. It's going to work out for us, those good things. This actually wasn't being used. We'll be fixing that up. Okay. Looks like this one maybe upsize. Okay. And this way. And the question is, will we be able to pull out the motor without disconnecting the whole dishwasher? Okay. Got that nice and loose. And now is going to be the front strap that holds the motor in. Remove the other stuff from underneath. And here comes the motor mount. Here's the other side. Support it. And I'm likely to get some water when I do pull this out. I've got my wet dry vacuum ready. I've got some rags ready. Yeah. Here's the motor mount, and we're done. We should be able to pull it down and out. Nice, and there was enough room. That's great. Now we can inspect. Here's our peel. All right, and we're done. Okay, got some water in there. Got a solenoid in there. Okay. All one piece. That's that. That's great. So this one was loose as well. We would have had to loosen that one up. And it looks like it wasn't too bad to do in place. So we've got a little bit of water there. Clean that up. And then we'll go ahead and change it out on the other one. Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. The other one I'll need to vacuum the water first. That'll be the main difference. This one, no problem. Motor. And dump out the water. Again, we'll be attaching the new solenoid and changing the solenoid before we put it in. But pretty good. All right. Right here is the capacitor. It's a 10 microfarad capacitor. Actually, may be able to just change out the capacitor on the new one. So, I got a comment yesterday about that. Okay, there's the 10 microfarad capacitor. Shout out to Dan Logical Thinking, who suggested that it might be that. I'm going to give that a try. I'll pull that apart. It's just two wires here to disconnect. And I'm going to go with that first, and if not, then I'm going to change the motor. Again, it's follow the same deal that I would do with an air conditioner. Disconnect both leads and then discharge across the capacitor just in case to cancel out any deal that might be there.
Because the capacitor holds a charge after being disconnected.
Unscrew the capacitor here.
Discharging an air-conditioned capacitor is done with an unplugged or disconnected unit, holding only the insulated portion of the screwdriver.
Pull right out.
and bridge in the metal leads of the capacitor to cancel out the charge.
And we'll try changing that capacitor, and if not, we'll change the whole motor. Either way is easy, just one. The other one involves a little bit more water and wet dry vacuuming. But this is one screw. And in theory, there we go. One capacitor. Alright. I'm going to try that first and go from there. Let's see. Nice. And I actually have my meter. I can test the other capacitor. Is a new dishwasher capacitor. I'm going to set this to microfarads. This one's a 10. Now we'll see how we go. 10.01 microfarads. And this is plus or minus 5%. Alright, good.
So here it is at the one to test, and unplug the unit first, then pull the leads, and then I'm going to discharge the capacitor holding only the insulated portion of the screwdriver. You notice I'm not touching the metal portion of the screwdriver. That easy to get in there. Pair of needle nose with insulated handles, so that'll work nice and easy to be able to bridge the leads to discharge the capacitor for the dishwasher. It's likely that the motor windings would discharge the capacitor, but you really don't want to take a chance. You know, you're dealing with water and electricity. You definitely want to make sure everything's unplugged first, and then pull in the seal and discharge in the capacitor. And then here is testing. Again, it probably discharges in the motor windings, but what if a wire burned somewhere and then it still had power applied to it? The capacitor could build up the charge, and it may not be a lot of current, but if water increases the surface area that electricity is able to travel on, and if someone has a weak heart, you know, you mix a little water, a little bit of electricity in just the wrong place across the heart, and boom. So it's just a good idea to take the precautions and discharge the capacitors. It doesn't take much time. It's always just a good safety practice. This one tested good at 10 microfarads, so no need to change it.
One leak to each side, works just like any other capacitor.
I should mention there are some other capacitors for different things that are more sensitive, specialized stuff for special components like stereos and TVs, computer systems, where you'll want to use some type of resistor to slowly bleed off the charge, or, you know, a lot slower, milliseconds, to bleed off the charge. People use a resistor in between so that the screwdriver is just instant connecting one lead to the other side, and it discharges it, and it's very effective. But for sensitive equipment, you don't want to blow the capacitor, and so you want to use a resistor in between. Some people use like a light bulb with, you know, one lead to each side, and that way the light bulb dissipates the heat or discharges the capacitor, discharges the energy. This one I didn't need to change the capacitor. I did change it anyway, so I thought I'd leave that in the film. I'll just speed it up a little bit. And that's how you can discharge the dishwasher capacitor. That's how you can test it, change it, replace it, and whatnot. I very rarely have these go out, although it wouldn't surprise me if some dishwashers have been condemned when all that was wrong was the capacitor. Now you know how to test them. And or change it out. If you didn't have a microfarad tester, you could change it out with another dishwasher if you had another dishwasher readily available of the same type. This one did not repair the dishwasher, but I thought it worth showing you on how you can test and replace and change the dishwasher capacitors. Okay, so back at this dishwasher, to change out the dishwasher pump, and I wanted to check first to make sure that there was no blockage around the new pump motor and that the impeller spins freely. It did not, actually. I show how to take off the screen and how to remove spray arm plus screen for newer GE dishwasher. Each dishwasher is a little bit different, but I needed to get down into that sump both to check it and then also to be able to vacuum out the water inside there. So here it is, checking it and testing it out. Nothing was working. I had tried moving the impeller by hand, got it to move, but it just wasn't moving very freely, so I needed to go deeper and change it out. Went ahead and vacuumed it out with my wet dry vacuum, but when I did, I saw the ball was gone, and looking in my vacuum, there's the gobstopper. I showed that in another video, so I need to put that back as it acts as a check valve. So dropped it back in the hole there, and that'll be there for once we're put back together. So here it is under the old one, disconnecting all the power. Of course, I've unplugged everything and pulling all the wiring. Now this one, this wouldn't work so well to do in place if you had a dishwasher where the power supply connection was in the way, or if the water hose was in the way. And a lot of setups that'll be the situation. But this one, everything was out of the way, so it's not too bad to change it out in place. In some ways, you can say it'd be better to disconnect the whole dishwasher, and you could tip it on its back. You could minimize the water that spills, and also you'd be able to verify that all your connections are better and minimize the chance that something would leak. This one, when I did put it back, it did leak a little bit, so I needed to fiddle with it and get it, but no big deal. Here I'm taking off the old solenoid. Normally that would be attached to your new one. This one I had tried changing it out, so I need to switch it back to the original pump. Not too big a deal, but that was part of this one. Since I already showed how to change the solenoid in the dishwasher day video, I'll go ahead and speed up the film here. And since the earlier portion of the video showed changing out the pump motor, or uninstalling the old pump motor from the old machine, I'll go ahead and speed up the film here as well. Just understand that if you're doing it this way where you don't uninstall the whole cabinet, or even if you did it the other way where you uninstall the whole dishwasher, you're going to need a leak check and verify that everything sat well and that you have no leaks. This one, it did have leaks when I put it back together, and that's something that can happen. And this one I had to pull it back apart and modify it, not pull it back apart, but reposition the gaskets. Now it's easier to not have leaks when you've got the dishwasher out and exposed, and you can see that everything's put back together in the right spot and clamped down. That's a little bit trickier when you're doing it under the machine. Would I do it this way again? Absolutely I would. This saved a lot of time. Things I would do differently: put a towel down underneath, and that way you can protect the flooring, and that way the water that does spill out can go right onto the towel. But even that, it's not too bad. Pretty, not, in the scope of it, a fairly easy repair. I would uninstall it from the cabinet if the wiring was in the way, and if the dishwasher hose was in the way and you couldn't easily get those out of the way. They would just take a little bit more prep work, but not too bad also. Okay, so here it is. I'm pulling out the old one, just lifting the wiring harness out of the way, and then pulling it down from the tubing, the large hose attachments. There's the old one, and you can see the impeller is just seized. It's really hard to turn. Looks like something got stuck in there. Looking in the center. It's really hard to turn by hand. Not impossible, but really hard. Something bound up inside the impeller. And this is what had caused the solenoid to burn out. Most likely the motor sat there trying to run and not running, and then eventually the solenoid burned up. Kind of funny it didn't trip the GFI, but then that's not the purpose of the GFI, right? The GFI is not for heat, it's for anything close to water, and it turns off as a protection. But unfortunately it doesn't catch everything. So, but yeah, sometimes when one thing goes wrong, there can be a chain reaction of other things going wrong because of it, and And that can be a little bit tricky sometimes to figure out, because some things don't show up with certain tests. There are certain tests that you can do, but sometimes not everything shows up. So here goes putting in the new motor. Just lifting the wiring harness again out of the way, and then need to slip the tubes or the hoses back onto the motor. So there's one at the back where the impeller goes in. There's one at the top. And then there's one small one on the side. And then just rotate the clamps around and position them. You want to feel the larger tubes. Make sure that nothing's bent the wrong way or compressed in an odd way. Again, this can be tricky, not being able to see around there. A cell phone camera, you have to be careful, obviously, because there's water involved. Can be helpful. A mirror can be helpful to inspect around and to be able to peek around, and a flashlight for sure. Being able to look around in there and verify that everything sat properly. And then you'll want to leak test everything thoroughly, run it through and make sure. Again, this can be tricky in the angle that it's at to tighten up the clamps. And that's why most people pull out the machine and do everything with the dishwasher on its back. But I don't think it was too bad this way. It just takes a little bit more time, a little bit more inspection. It's tight quarters, sharp parts, water, electricity, all very dangerous. So make sure you're unplugging the machine. Make sure you're disconnecting power and just protecting yourself and kind of taking your time with it. And as you can see here, I got a bit much more to work out. A major flood. The back tube was actually kind of bent. It took me a couple times to get it. I wound up needing to loosen the clamp all the way and reposition the motor back into the larger tubing, larger hose tubing. It's pretty big size on the back of the pump, and reset the whole thing back into there, reposition it. I wound up needing to do that twice before I actually got it worked out, but it's just one of those things. You got to just check it out. If I had taken a bit more time up front and used my camera to peek around behind it, probably could have prevented the last bit of water. Let's see, there it is again. But all in all, not too difficult. I didn't have to take out the whole dishwasher, put it on its back, and so I saved time that way, spent time this way. It's a trade-off. But here it is, everything running back in business, doing what it's supposed to do. Again, here's repositioning it. I wound up taking it off the front motor clamp and then resetting it, repositioning it. Of course, disconnected power again before doing anything under there. Water, electricity, sharp parts, sharp edges, it's all deadly. So don't touch anything unless you know exactly what you're doing. Yep, the repair is successful. Awesome. Dishwasher all working again. And somehow during all that fun, I lost a little keeper clip that keeps the solenoid valve on, so I went back and got it from the other one. Was able to reset that one here, but now it's all fixed.
Okay, here's the deal all changed. See like a little string or something in there? It's possible that I may be able to fix this one up, but it's a done deal. I changed it out.
Or is it a done deal? Stay tuned for more dishwasher days coming soon. It's maintenance. It's never really done. We maintain until the end. Job security. A quick search of my YouTube channel, you should be able to find a bunch of material that'll be helpful to your maintenance needs, and links to tools and parts used in the videos can be found in the descriptions below.